today's video is going to be my June reading wrap up. I ended up reading 20 books in June, so a little bit less than the previous months, but still a decent amount to talk about. So, I did get through most of my TBR this month. There were a couple that I ended up prioritizing, but also, I told you guys I wanted to mood read in June, and like I said, I did get to most of the books that I really wanted to read in the month of June. So how many times can we say June? I don't know, but we're gonna go ahead and start with the first book that I read in June, and that is Verity by Colleen Hoover. So I finally decided to read this book. It's been on my TBR for quite a while, so I did get to a couple of books that have been on my TBR for a bit in June. I think it was only like 4. It was 3 physically and 1 on Kindle, but it's better than in May, so I'm trying to do the same thing in July. So yeah, this was the first book that I read, and honestly, I thought that this was actually really good. I was craving like a good actual thriller because after coming off of reading The Divorce and reading one of the worst books that I read this year, this one definitely made up for it. And this one was crazy. So basically, this is about a woman named Lowen, and she is a struggling writer, and she gets offered a job by this guy named Jeremy, and she gets offered to ghostwrite for his wife, and I forget his wife's name. Oh, Verity, duh. That's literally the name of the book, you idiot. How could I forget that? So Verity has been basically catatonic. She suffered a really bad accident, and she basically lost the will to move, to speak, and she can't really obviously write her books anymore. So in comes in Lowen, and she is there, and they end up offering her to move in to write the novel, or the next novel in her series, because like this series is obviously like one of the most well known. Like this trope is used a lot, but I really liked the way that this was done, because usually I think this was better than The Ghostwriter. The only thing that I didn't love about this book, I didn't think I was going to give it a 5 stars, but I thought it would be a solid 4. I think I gave it a 4.25. Yeah, 4.25. The only reason why I didn't give it a higher rating is because I feel like the intimate scenes went on a little bit too long, that it was almost like getting a little boring reading those scenes, because it's like, I know they're being intimate. Why do I need to read about it for so much? Because the same thing was happening currently in the present as it was in the actual book that she was reading, because she ends up stumbling upon Verity's autobiography that she never finished. And honestly, the ending, literally the last like not even 10 pages of this book flips like basically the entire plot of this book upside down. And honestly, you could not trust a damn person in this book. And it was so freaking wild, the twists at the end. I was like, oh my god, you think you know, but like she really did have me fooled in this. So she did do a good job of that. But I am not reading any more books by Colleen Hoover. Like, I refuse. But I did want to read this one because it was the only one that I still owned by her. I only ever bought It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us in this book. But I bought this one used, so it's not like it really costed me that much at all. And I finally decided to pick it up, and it was good. And I am curious about this movie. It's a little ridiculous that every single book that she has now is being turned into a movie. I feel like it should only be the ones that are her most popular, like It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us, even though that controversy was crazy. I think Verity's like her second most popular book. So I'm excited to see Anne Hathaway in it. I think she's going to do a great job as Verity. So The second book I ended up reading in June was This Weekend Doesn't End Well for Anyone. This is the third book in the Vacation Mysteries series by Catherine Mack. This one came out at the end of April, but I never got to it until June. It was the second book that I ended up finishing, and I think I gave this a solid 4 stars. These books are just so funny and fun, but honestly, it's getting a little bit confusing to differentiate between the 2 books. I mean, the 3 books that are out in these series, because they kind of all end up having the same kind of plots, but they are fun and really funny. So I'm just going to read this one really quick. Basically, they're in like a bunch of writing classes, and the main character, Eleanor Dash, is learning how to, become a better writer in all of these reading retreats, obviously. But the tasks that they have in these groups or classes is that they all have to pretend to kill each other using certain like murder weapons or poison or something like that to make like their twists better in their books. But someone actually ends up being killed for real doing that. So that's all I'm going to say, and that's all I really remember, but that's like the main plot of this book anyway. I think dinner might be ready already. Let me just finish talking about this one. So it says 9 hours, 12 minutes. The third, yeah, dinner's ready already. All right, I'll continue later. Okay, so let's get back to what this one's about. So it says, the third in the winning and captivating series following Eleanor Dash, who once again has to swap her sun hat for her detective hat when a body is found at a murder mystery writing conference in the Bahamas. Eleanor Dash can never catch a break. Not only has she had to solve 2 real-life murder plots in the last year, but both times it was when she was meant to be on vacation. Now she's finally got a ticket to a relaxing weekend, an all-inclusive resort at the Bahamas where she's speaking at a conference. Yeah, there's not really much to this plot, so I gave it a 4 stars, and that's really it. I'm not really going to talk about it anymore because there's not really that much story progression right now. I honestly think that this series could end soon, but I was talking to Mike Bookstagram on Instagram, and he actually was able to meet her at a book signing in his state like a couple months ago, and he said that she's going to be expanding this series to 7 books. So I'm like, I don't know if it really needs to be 7 books. So I'm going to keep on reading them, though, because I think they're a fun time. It has a pretty low rating, though. It only has a 3.53, so. Okay, the next up, I read A Summer Romance, if I could speak English, The Summer I Found You by Jennifer O'Brien. I actually was able to go to this author signing. I went to quite a few author signings in June, so I will be talking about them throughout the video. And this one is from a Long Island author, and this was based out in the like Greenpoint / North Fork. Why does it say North Fork? I thought it was called the North Fork. Oh well. So this one was cute. I really liked this one. I gave this a 4 stars because I thought that just a little bit of the romance dialogue was a little bit too cheesy. But besides that, I really enjoyed the story. So this is about a woman named Dahlia and this guy named, what is his name? Noah. And basically she wants to redo her, like, most of her house because she's recently divorced, and her ex was a very, like, emotionally and, mentally abusive to her, like my ex-boyfriend. And she meets Noah because Noah is fixing up her house. And this is an age gap romance, so I believe she is older than him. I just can't remember how much older, but I really loved this, and I really liked the way that Dahlia had kind of came into her own and into her skin throughout the book, and she started to stand up for herself and her relationship with Noah because, of course, people love to judge those kind of relationships, and it's like to each their own. If you're happy, who cares, honestly? Sometimes it's a little weird though, like where somebody's like 18 and then the other person's like 45 or 50, like that's a little bit too much. Or if somebody's like really old and then they're dating like a 30-year-old, I think that those are a little weird. But again, if they're happy, they can do what they want with their lives. It's not affecting me. So, but anyway, she is just having like a hard time coping with being recently divorced, and also is doubtful about Noah's intentions because, she can't believe that like somebody like him likes somebody like her. So I thought it was really cute. And Noah is a handsome reality TV star known for his Hampton set home renovation series. It sounds very similar to A Sprinkle of Sweet Serendipity, except it wasn't magical realism. So also there's kind of an underlying mystery plot in this. It says Dahlia discovers a letter from Aunt Lil, whose dying wish was for Dahlia to find a key that unlocks a mystery spanning 3 generations. So actually, like, the mystery involves, like, certain paternity kind of things. So I thought that was really interesting. And when I went to meet Jennifer, she did talk about that. She loves writing romance, but she also really likes writing romances with some kind of mystery plot line. So I think she did a really good job of balancing both of those together, and it was a fun read. So I think it's a good summer romance. Okay, next up, I did read a fantasy, and the reason why I wanted to read this is because it did become available on my Libby. I think I did run out of the audiobook, though. I think I had to finish it physically, but I think I had only had like maybe 80 pages that day left. But I think I ended up binging it because I don't think it was on Spotify Premium. I think I had that happen like once or twice now where I ran out of the audiobook on Libby because somebody else was waiting for it. And it was like, that happened with me with Mad Honey yesterday, but I only had like 40 pages left. And also it was included in Spotify Premium, so I was able to listen to it there. But with this, I don't think I ended up reading it until like 2 days before it was due. And I think that it was almost going to expire if I didn't read it. And also, like, I think it ended up expiring because I didn't finish it yet. But I ended up reading it. But anyway, we ended up reading Witch Queen Rising by Savannah Stevens. I liked this. I didn't love it. I thought the magic system was really cool and interesting. So basically, but there were some parts that were a little slow. But I do think that the magic system was really unique. So this is about a woman named Prime. And no, not named Prime. She's supposed to become the Prime. Her name is Seraphine. She is dubbed the Tick Witch because the power that she has is basically she's able to leech off of anyone's power and make it her own. I don't remember what X-Men is like that. She's basically able to absorb anybody's power and use it against them. So, a lot of people fear her because she, they think that she's going to, torture them or kill them. And, it instills a lot of fear in them that she's going to be the new Prime. But, in her family, she is the heir. So, she basically has to prove to her followers and her family that she is, the one that's supposed to be the Prime. And, everybody's downing her, and it gets her into a lot of fights with her family. And there is this sickness going around. Wait, her name's not Seraphine. Her name is Fine. or Phine, Phine, not Seraphine. Seraphine. Wait. Sorry. So, yeah, it was good. But yeah, her name is Phine, not Seraphine. Wait, her name is Seraphine. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. Phine is her nickname. Duh. Oh my god. Um, so anyway, yeah, it was basically that was what it was about. I don't really need to say anymore. I don't need to say Phine 5 million times and figure out that's her name. Oh, and also, oh, this is what I was saying is that there's a sickness going around from her subjects that I mean around her subjects that is making them like die off and no one's really bringing attention to it. And also there is a war going on between the werewolves and the vampires. And she has to figure out who her allies are going to be, the vampires or the werewolves. So there is a lot going on. I just felt that this actually would have benefited if there was a little bit more of a romance plot to this, because I feel like it would have made it more interesting. Yes, it's not a romantasy, it's a fantasy, but I do wish that there was something a little bit more to this book because I feel like I would have rated it higher because I do think it had all the elements of a good fantasy book. Like, I still enjoyed it. There was just something that I didn't love about it, but it was still good. So, yeah. I will pick up the second one and see what happens with the war between the witches and the vampires, though. I'm very interested in that. So, okay, then next up I read, oh wait, what did I rate Witch Queen Rising? I think I only gave it a 4 stars as well. Yeah, I only gave it a 4 stars. Okay. So next up I read hold on. I listened to our book club pick for June for my book club, and that is The Guncle Abroad by Stephen Rowley. So me and Felicia did buddy read the first one last summer. And honestly, I wish that we hadn't picked this one because it says on the internet that you can read these as interconnected standalones. You don't have to necessarily read the first one. But honestly, I feel like it would have made a lot of people's reading experience with this one better. But basically, all the girlies ended up reading the first one anyway and the second one, except for my friend Meg, and she didn't like this one. So, she probably should have read the first one, but basically like 4 or 5 of the other book girlies read the first one first, and they said that they really enjoyed both of them. So I feel like we should have picked the Book of Luke, but I'll talk about that later because Meg wanted to read that one too, but I just don't think we should do sequels, I mean, unless it specifically says, like, if it's like an Abby Jimenez book where, like, you can read it as a standalone, like, part of your world, or just for the summer, like, you don't have to read those in order necessarily. But, like, I think with romance books, it's a little bit easier, but whatever. I still had read the first one, so it didn't ruin my experience. I still thought this was hysterical. So with this one, Patrick takes the kids from the first book because he becomes their legal guardian at the end of the first book, and he takes them on a vacation to, I believe, Italy. And I don't remember if one of his siblings is getting married. they might be. This time for a big family wedding, and yeah, it is. I'm so smart. It's been 5 years since his summer as his niece Macy and nephew Grant's caretaker after their mother's passing. The kids are back in Connecticut with their dad, and Patrick has relocated to New York to remain close by and relaunch his dormant acting career. After the run of his second successful sitcom comes to a close, Patrick feels on top of the world professionally, but some things have had to take a back seat. Looking down both barrels at 50, Patrick is single again after breaking things off with Emery. So that's basically what happens in this book. So he takes the kids to Italy, and he's basically trying to teach them, things about traveling and stuff, but also they're getting older, and there's some parts in this book that are just freaking hysterical. But there wasn't anything that really stood out to me as much as the first book. The first book was a 6-star read for me. Okay, I freaking adore the first book, and I was really hoping that I could have re-listened to the first book before I got to the second book. But newsflash, you won't find this out later in the video because I'm telling you guys now. I didn't do any rereads in June. I wasn't able to get to any, which kind of sucks because I wish I would have gotten to this one, but I just didn't have the time. I know, I'm so busy not working and everything. Oh my god, like, what am I gonna do? So, yeah, I still really enjoyed this. I gave it a 4.5 because I think it was hysterical. I need to wear my hair like this more. It looks so good. I might wear it like this tomorrow. But anyway, yeah, it's just, it wasn't anything like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with. Not like the first one. So, that's really it. I can't really talk about it anymore because I feel like it's going to get a little spoilery. But I highly suggest if you do read this, I would say you should read the first one still. Okay, then next up I read a duology that has been on my TBR for so long. It's been on my TBR for 2+ years, and I finally decided to pick this duology up. So I finally read Dance of Thieves, and I also read Vow of Thieves. I finally read these damn books. I didn't end up reading Daughter of the Moon Goddess yet again, but I wanted to read this first, and also I was so in the mood to read these that I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to pick these up. I have such a good feeling about both of these books, and they did not disappoint. They were both 5 stars for me. You guys, I freaking loved these. I understand why people say these books are true enemies to lovers, because there are so many reasons why Kazi and, what is the female's name? Jace. No, Kazi is the female. Jace is the male. So basically, Kazi is a thief for the opposing enemy kingdom. And she ends up being captured by by Jace, and obviously they start forming some sort of attraction to each other, but I don't think they're even together at the end of the first book. Or yeah, I think they are actually. And then in the second book, they are actually apart for quite a while. There's a long time until they're actually reunited, but this is probably the first duology or the first sequel that I've read where they actually have so many reasons why they are not together. And that is actually such a talent, especially for a romantasy author, because there are so many romantasy sequels where they're just apart and all they're doing is freaking going on, voyages the whole time. And it gets so fucking boring, and all you want them to do is reunite with each other. And sometimes if they spend a little bit too long apart, or too long of a period of time apart, it just is so anticlimactic that you don't even care anymore. With this, there were, again, so many underlying reasons as to why they should not come back together. And it was done so freaking well. So at the end of the first book, Kazi gets captured by one of the enemy king, or maybe it was Jace's king, I can't remember. Um, and he's, pure evil, obviously. And he is basically, I feel like Thorn season got some inspiration from this zoology, by the way, because it kind of has like an enemy king that drugs the female FMC, and she is under his capture for most of the book, and then Jace is obviously trying to get back to her, but there are so many things that happen to Jace that he simply can't get back to her, and honestly, he thinks that she's dead. And that's all I'm going to say. This was such romantasy, YA romantasy perfection. It was so fucking good. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. There were so many jaw-dropping moments, and I had such a great time reading these. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. And I also saw so many people say the same thing on my Goodreads when I finally did pick this book up. They're like, this book has been on my TBR for so long as well. Trust me when I'm telling you, please read these. Please do yourself a favor and actually just force yourself to read these, because you will not be disappointed. I'm saying this after it took me 2+ years to fucking pick these books up finally. But zero regrets. So, so, so good. Probably my favorite fantasy books. They were definitely my favorite fantasy books that I read in June. Hands down. I don't think I read that much fantasy in June. I think I only read 5. Because, I don't want to hammer too much fantasy in before I reread ACOTAR, which I'm going to start next month. And then I'm also starting another fantasy series next month. And then I also need to read Crescent City before ACOTAR comes out too. So we're not trying to be that fantasy heavy this summer, but the most fantasy heavy we're going to be is rereading ACOTAR. So yeah. Anyway, the next book that we ended up reading was one of the other authors that I had the pleasure of meeting, and that is These Summer Storms by Sarah MacLean. I just needed something fun, a bit of a palate cleanser after Dance of Thieves. I still fucking loved it, but I didn't want anything too heavy or like a romance. I just wanted something fun. So I picked this book up, and also this was like 2 days before we went to meet her, along with another author that she was questioning that I will tell you guys about later on. And this one, I believe I gave a 4.25. So basically this one, first off, this book was fucking hilarious. Sarah MacLean is freaking hysterical. I'm going to have to sit on the bed soon because I'm getting tired already. And is this the 10th book already? Hold on. Oh, it's the 8th book. Okay, not bad actually. And a lot of her humor definitely shows in this book. I just had so much fun reading this. So basically, this is like Succession, but like less. It's definitely dramatic, but it's without like some of the murder plots. Not that in Succession it really has murder, but it's pretty similar to Succession. So basically, but it was so. I didn't think that this book was going to be so funny. I thought it was going to be a lot more serious. So basically, this is about a how many times can I say basically? Oh my God. About a family of rich people, and the father had just unfortunately passed away, and he basically made his kids compete for the inheritance that he left them. And they are forced to stay on this island to compete in these inheritance games. No pun intended, because there is a series called Inheritance Games. But this is a lot different because obviously it's not like a stranger that... Because in the Inheritance Games, the father of the Hawthorns leaves his inheritance to like this random teenager, And they have to figure out why the hell he left it to her and compete in these inheritance games in order to get their inheritance too. But with this, they're forced to stay on the island to compete with each other and have like these insane tasks like, they don't sound like they're that crazy, but then when you actually have to do them, they're actually really hard. Like, one of the sons that never shuts up, he actually has to not speak for like the rest of the night. After like 7 o'clock or something, he can't speak a word until like the next day. And like he's almost failed like a bunch of times. And then the main character's task, what is her name? I don't even remember the main character's name, but like basically the female, I think her name is Alice. Yeah, it says Alice. And I think she was the oldest daughter. Basically, she is just forced to stay on the island. She can't leave. And that's obviously all of their tasks, but the thing is that she is the only one out of her whole family that kind of like just didn't really care about the money anymore from her dad and really just tried to be independent and on her own. And her dad basically like shunned her from the family for it. It's just really ridiculous. The fact that she wants to be independent from her dad and make her own money is a reason why he shunned her, because like, wouldn't you want your kids to be independent from you and not have to borrow your money to be under, but like it was always like a control thing with him. Like if they borrowed money from him, that means that he could use them in like any way he wanted to. So yeah, this book was fun. It was fucked up, but it was a great time. So it was her, I think her sister and her husband, which were already having like a ton of marital problems, and the other son, which was the one that I said that doesn't want anybody, he doesn't want him to talk after a certain amount of time in the day. And it was just so good. It was so funny. And I just had a great time with it. So, and the thing is that with Alice, it is hard for her to not leave because, she's left before. But also, if any of them fail the challenges, all of them lose the inheritance. Like, it's not just like one person, it's everybody. So, yeah. Okay, so hey there, guys. So, it's been quite a few days since I filmed my last clip for this video. I'm just like, I should just do read with me's all month for my wrap-ups at this point, because it takes me so long to film my wrap-ups now. It's just so bad. So anyway, the next book that I read in June, because we're literally almost done with July already. I decided to listen to Stephen Rowley's new book, which came out at the end of May, I believe. Yeah, May 19th. Never mind. It came out the third week of May, and that is Take Me With You. Because, I still wanted to read a few more Pride books for June, for Pride Month. And this one I didn't really love as much as The Guncle and The Guncle Abroad, but I wanted to listen to it because I really enjoy his audiobook narrators and I really enjoy Stephen Rowley's voice, but this was narrated by somebody else. And basically this was about a gay couple named Norman and Joshua. And I'm just gonna, no, not Joshua, Jesse and Norman. And basically they are together. I don't know if they're married though. They've been together for 30 years. And all of a sudden, Norman just decides to like disappear. And, Jesse's obviously looking for him for like basically the entire book. And they're both no, Jesse is a professor of college students, and I don't know exactly like what he actually teaches, but he kind of teaches them about comedy, but also it says he's a theorist. So everybody kind of thinks that, sorry, I just need moisturizer, that he was abducted by aliens. So I thought it would just be a fun, like, magical realism kind of book with a bit of a sci-fi element. But honestly, I think that the jokes in here were a little bit too crude for me at certain points. Like, with The Guncle and The Guncle Abroad, there's, like, a certain, like, heartwarming... I still enjoyed the book, but there's a certain, like, heartwarming aspect to The Guncle that's why, I really like, I mean, the first book is a 6-star read for me. I absolutely love The Guncle. Um, but yeah, basically they're just wondering if he's ever going to come back. And that's basically it. I gave it a 3.75. I don't think it was as good as the last like alien kind of sci-fi book I read, which was The Humans by Matt Haig, which I gave a 5 stars because that man can do no wrong for me. I absolutely love his books. So yeah, it was just okay. Originally, I had given it a 4-star, and I was like, no, I don't really feel that strongly about it. I almost rounded it down to a 3, but I think I'm going to keep it at a 3.75 rounded up. So that's about it. Then next up, I read one of my most anticipated romance reads of the year, and that was Ashley Poston's new release, and that is The Someday Garden. I was so excited for this one, and this one came out June 16th. And I actually found it, I think, of quite a few days earlier before it came out, and they only had one more copy of it, or I think they only had one copy of it where I found it. And I snatched it up as soon as I saw it. And this was the first book that I read this whole year that I read entirely physically without an audiobook because the book wasn't out yet. And I was like, you know what? Let me see how long it actually takes me to read a physical book these days, because 99 out of 100% of the time, I'm reading it with the audiobook now if I don't have time to physically read the book. So I was very excited for this one. This one was like kind of inspired a little bit by The Secret Garden, but it still like kind of was made its own. So this is about the Lilymore house, and the new head gardener's name is Sophie Dreer. And she moves to Maine to work in this garden for the summertime, like kind of get away to some things that happened to her where she originally was. Basically I don't know if this is a spoiler. I don't know if she talks about it in the synopsis. I'll just say that she lost somebody really close to her. I'm not going to say who it is because I think it's a spoiler. And she basically can see somebody that's kind of stuck in the garden, and she's the only one that hears their voice and knows that they're there, and she basically has to make it her mission to free him. So she doesn't know if he's a ghost, if he's like, it's kind of like mixing together a bit of Sounds Like Love and Dead Romantics. And I thought it was really cute. I really enjoyed this. It also reminded me a lot of somebody that I lost that was really close to me. So I did tear up a little bit because there was like some things, just the way that Ashley Poston writes, it's so beautiful. The way that she writes some passages. Sounds so upstate. I gave this a 4.25. I did really enjoy it, but I'm honestly really surprised that I still have not found another 5-star read from Ashley Poston since the first book I read from her, which was The Dead Romantics. It's not like I haven't loved every other book by her. I just haven't had that 5-star feeling about anything else I've read by her. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cute. Yeah, that's basically what it was about. So next up, I read Laura Stevens' new release. Laura Stevens' new release. Can I speak? And that is Every Exquisite Thing. So this is my third book that I've read by Laura Steven, and both other books that I've read by her, I've given 5 stars, so I had very high expectations for this one. This one was not a 5-star, it was a 4-star. I still really enjoyed it. Honestly, I might lower it to a 3.75 as well, but honestly, I'm probably just gonna leave it at 4. So basically, this is a Dorian Gray retelling where the main character, Penny, is going to this Dorian drama school. Obviously, it's named after Dorian Gray. And if you were disappointed by the Beautiful Villain series, I forget who it was by. I really did not like that book that much. She's also doing, like, classic retellings, but, like, with a fantasy element to them. I think that this is going to be better if she decides to like do a spin on a different classic tale and make it like more fantasy. I think Laura Steven is going to do it a lot better because Beautiful Venom, I mean, not Beautiful Venom. Why do I keep on thinking of Rena Kent? No, Beautiful Villain was not very good. And the second book in that series was a Dorian Gray retelling, and a lot of people were annoyed about it, and people said it wasn't very good either. So I just stopped reading that series because Beautiful Villain was really not that great of a book. So anyway, that's not what this is about. I read that like maybe a year and a half ago. So anyway, she is basically getting physically modified to look thinner, look younger, look more beautiful. And that's basically what every woman wants, is to be thinner, to be younger looking, to be not aging ever. So she also tries to perfect like her acting to like a T, and she is always trying to please her mother. But also she needs to uncover what happened to her father, because, you know, her father was murdered and she has to figure out who killed him. So that's basically what happened in this book. I'm actually surprised that I remembered that much because I didn't think this book was too memorable. But I still really enjoyed it. I still really love her writing. I'm so excited to read Turncloak later this year. I actually have had the arc for it like almost 2 months already. But I want to re-listen to Silvercloak first before I read Turncloak. And Turncloak doesn't come out until September, so I have like another month before I have to read it. I think I'm going to read it like 2 days before it comes out, like September 4th, I think it comes out. So anyway, I enjoyed this. It wasn't anything like insanely amazing though, but I did enjoy the suspense and mystery in this book, so I think it was fun. And it also says Penny realizes she's made a terrible mistake. A sinister someone is using the uncanny portraits to kill off the subjects one by one, like each student. As more perfectly beautiful students start to fall, Penny knows her time is running out. A seductive and staring exploration of beauty, identity, and what the pursuit of perfection can truly cost. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. So I think I'm going to keep it a 4-star. Okay, next up, I read another book that I think this was probably my least favorite book I read this month, but honestly, again, I didn't rate anything under a 3 stars, and this was a 3. And that is The Summer Proposal by V. Keelan. Now, there was certain things about this book that I actually really enjoyed, and it came out at the end of April 21st of this year. And I thought that the romance between both of the main characters, Georgia and Max, was really cute. And this was a hockey romance, and basically Georgia is... The only thing that didn't make this rated higher is that Georgia basically is trying to figure out whether or not her and her, I would kind of say ex-boyfriend, are still going to be back together by the end of the summer. Because her ex, or her boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, goes away to England to other women. And I'm like, wouldn't you think that it would be done then? But then she, goes out on a date and she meets this guy named Max, and Max is like pretending to be her actual date. When her actual date shows up, she's like, no. I think she only hung out with him for a little bit, and then she decides to get to know Max more after. But Max leaves her alone after her date shows up, but he was kind of pretending that it was him, but then was obviously honest, saying no, I'm not him, I'm just talking to a beautiful woman. So I thought that was funny. And again, this book definitely had its moments. So basically, again, Georgia needs to figure out whether or not they're together, which I actually thought was really stupid. Honestly, I don't even think that plot line really added anything to the story, and I just thought it was dumb, because it could have just been where Georgia was trying to figure out whether or not she actually had true feelings for Max, or she was just using him as a rebound. Because basically, the plot of this summer proposal, or this summer proposal, I mean, is he offers to like just be friends with benefits and to have a good time for the summer, and basically no strings attached, and once the summer is over, he's going to move to like another state to play for another team or something. But there's also something else going on with Max that he doesn't want to tell Georgia, and I'm not going to spoil that. Which I got a little bit annoyed that he didn't tell her that, but basically, like, the way that Georgia decides whether or not she wants to be with Max is, like, again, kind of stupid. But they obviously admit their feelings to each other eventually. As y'all know, she's going to be with him anyway. Like, the ex comes back and he's like, I made a huge mistake. I'm so sorry. She's like, you sleeping with other people was making a mistake. Like, yeah. But also, like, she realized that she didn't love him anymore. But it's just, again, I don't think it was a necessary plot line for this romance to be better. I thought it was already good. And it was already really funny writing. So I did have a good time with it. But I only gave it a 3-star just because that plot line really just bothered me. So anyway, next up, I started reading more of my Pride TBR. And the next book I read was The Book of Luke by Lovell Holder. And I would have never read this book if I didn't get this book recommended to me by the Barnes & Noble manager from my local Barnes & Noble that I go to all the time with my book bestie Felicia. We were trying to find like a Pride book to read for book club, but our book club pick again ended up being The Guncle Abroad. And I don't think we're going to do that again, where something is supposed to be an interconnected standalone, but then I feel like you really got to know Patrick in the first book, so I really feel like you should read the first book before you read the second book. I don't think they should be really said that they're interconnected standalones, because I think that you need to read the first book. I don't know why the internet says you don't need to. It's kind of dumb. But anyway, this one was about... So I really wanted to read it because I was like, oh, that sounds really fun. So this one's a little bit crazy, the concept. So this is about a guy named Luke, and he is with his husband for, I forget how long, and they have like a couple of kids together, and his husband is running for some kind of political gay senator. He's running for senator again. And turns out he is a serial cheater. So, and he gets exposed on TV, I think. And Luke obviously loses like all of his money because I think he's like a stay-at-home dad. And, you know, obviously he's just raising their children and taking care of their children. So he has to do something to make money, obviously. Yeah, it says, 10 years later, Luke's world looks very... He is now a father of 2 and stay-at-home husband to America's only openly gay senator. When his husband's serial cheating is exposed, Luke impulsively joins the cast of Endeavor's latest season in a desperate bid to earn some fast cash. So basically, he joins a reality show. And this, like, reminded me of, like, Real World Road Rules or / like, Big Brother. It was just, actually, it literally says the traders with the epic physical stunts of the challenge. And I'm like, this was just really fun. Also was so fucked up what his ex-husband did to him. But then, like, you really feel for Luke. And then there's, like, it really does show, like, some of the things that, like, people do for money can be so fucked up. Even Luke almost got corrupted by those things, and he didn't do like the best things on the reality show either. Like, he was brutal about it too, just to win money, you know, like you have to be like dog eats dog on these kind of reality shows in order to survive, pretty much. And it was just so good, so fun, so entertaining. I ate this shit up. So I gave it I believe a 4.25. No, 4.5. The end was so crazy. And there was some, like, crazy suspense added at the end. And I was like, oh my God, that kind of shot it up to even a higher rating for me. So I really enjoyed it. And I think that, if you've been interested in reading it, I borrowed it from the library and also the audiobook, and it was just such an entertaining read. Okay, so next up, I read the next book that I went to a signing for at one of my local bookstores here. I went, like, I think a week and a half after Mary-Kate Andrews. We have so many signings in June and July here this year. It's just so cool. I'm going to 2 next week for July. I'm going to Annabelle Monaghan next week. I'm so excited for that. So anyway, the next book that I read was Trope Sick by Lauren Oakey. I really wanted to read, I hope it's Oakey and not okay. I don't think it's okay. I'm pretty sure dinner isn't ready yet. I'm just so tired. I don't hear anybody chomping away. So anyway, so I went to the signing for this one. It only has a 3.65. I gave this book a 5 stars. I absolutely ate up this fucking book. I thought it was so good. And it's all about Long Island. So I don't know if I'm a little biased, but I do live in Long Island. So anyway, I wanted to read The Best Worst Thing before I went to this signing, but I was like, you know what? I just want to read Trope Sick. So I got the audiobook from Libby, and then I started reading the physical book, obviously, that night after I picked up my copy of it. And basically this is about 2 writers that they aren't exactly rivals. They're more so ex-lovers because their relationship didn't work out, I think, like, over 10 years ago or something. I can't remember how long ago. Because they always had, things on reasons why they couldn't be together. Especially from the main male characters. So their names are Katie and what is the guy's name? Tyler. Tyler was her brother's best friend, and Katie naturally was the girl next door. Yes, okay. So, yeah. So they grew up together. They went out in, like, high school or something. But, Tyler always struggled with, like, drug addiction. So he always thought he was never good enough for her. And he was just, like, constantly breaking her heart when she was, like, head over heels, totally in love with him. So basically they are brought together again because they are supposed to ghostwrite this book together for this huge, like, famous author. And, like, I feel like I've read this trope, like, maybe 3 or 4 times in the past, like, 2 years. But there is a magical realism element to this book, like, towards the end, which I wasn't really expecting. I thought it was just going to be a regular romance book, and I didn't know. And that added, like, so much more to the book for me. Not that I was already eating it up. I mean, not that I wasn't already eating it up, but I really enjoyed it. That's all I'm going to say because I don't want to get, like, too spoilery. But yeah, again, I gave it a 5 stars. I really ate this book up. So they're forced to work together again, and they obviously start developing feelings together, for each other again. Because they never really went away. Okay, next up, I read yet another book that I went to the signing for and met the author Alex Finley for his book that came out, I believe, in May. This book didn't come out too long ago, so I really wanted to read it. Again, there were so many freaking May releases. I'm pretty sure I'm still reading May releases after this. Yeah, I think there's at least one left that I really wanted to get to that I still haven't read. I think I read, like, 2 or 3 in June, and now I think it's, like, 1 or 2 in June, and in July. So, yeah. Anyway, the next book that I read was The Anniversary by Alex Finley. And this was such a cool concept, this book. I gave this a 4.5. It was almost a 5 stars. So basically, this is about a serial killer that comes and kills his victims and comes for his victims every year. And you don't actually know who's going to be killed because he tries to scare all of them and comes for them once a year. And he basically flips a coin, like Two-Faced, very similar to Two-Faced, whether you live or die. And he like comes to each person since 1992 and flips a coin to decide whether or not he's going to kill you on May 1st every year. So I love how this book came out in May. Just, Alex, you're such a genius. So, yeah, that's basically what it's about. It says, on one fateful night in 1992, the lives of two 17-year-olds are changed and intertwined forever. Quinn Riley, a boy from the wrong side of the tracks, is arrested after he innocently tries to break up a fight but ends up nearly killing someone. Jules Delaney, high school royalty, survives an attack by the elusive and terrifying Mayday Killer. I love that so much, Mayday Killer. A serial predator who strikes every May 1st, like I just said. A year later, Jules is struggling with trauma and guilt, tormented by one question: why was I spared? Quinn is newly released from juvenile detention and returns home to the fresh and unsolved murder of his mother. Why am I finding typos in these synopsises on Goodreads? It's over the next decade. The lives are revisited once a year. So yeah, they have to figure out who the Mayday Killer is and why he keeps on wanting to try and kill them every year. So just so good. Again, I gave it a 4.5 stars. I binged this in a day. I wanted to finish it before the signing. And technically this was supposed to be their book club thriller pick. So I thought that this was going to be a book that everybody read for the signing, because I was like, okay, it's a thriller book club pick. That means if it's for a book club that you're supposed to read it, but then some people there hadn't read it yet. And I thought this was going to be more of like a chat and like more chill and less like of like a hosted questionnaire by like influencers or like another author, but that it turned out that's exactly what it was. It was a Q&A. I did ask him something and he's so funny. He's such a great funny guy, and I'm so excited to read more of his books. So yeah, I gave it a 4.5. So it was still a really fun night though. Okay, I think I only have 5 more books to talk about. Wow. Okay, so I'm finally back to record the last 5 books in my wrap up for the last clip of this video. I did change my shirt because I wanted to change into my comfy clothes for being home for the rest of the night. So I finally decided to mood read the last like few days of the month, because that was initially what I was supposed to do in my TBR video. Why the fuck does Goodreads do this? It drives me crazy. If I just click a book, the freaking not wrap up. The rating is gone, and I don't know why, and now it's not even loading again. Okay, so stupid. So the next book that I ended up reading was the first book in the Dragonbound Chronicles, and that is Wings of Life by Megan LaFay. And this was a new romantasy book that came out May 26th of this year. And I really enjoyed it. It did take me quite a few days to read. I kind of need to read the synopsis of this though, because it wasn't like slow or bad or in any way. It just like wasn't really that memorable but I still enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 stars, I believe. It just like had a lot of typical romantasy tropes. I didn't think it was that different. But also, since it took me a few days to read, I feel like I was just getting a little bit into a fantasy slump. Because I was like, I just wanted to finish it, I was just getting a little bit of fatigue from reading it for so long, but I still really enjoyed it. But it was a longer book. It was almost 500 pages. So anyway, This one says, um, they cast me off to Ritland. Oh, I remember. Ritland as a bride. They don't care if I come back alive. Too sharp-tongued and too curious. I am my mother's greatest lament and my father's constant frustration. Unwilling to bow to their will, I've become expendable, worth sending on a mission doomed to fail. Armed with nothing but a coded journal, a quill, and my wits, I'm thrust into a kingdom of our oldest enemy, a land of storms and warriors to wed their high Dane son. So yeah, it's obviously marriage of do you call that marriage of convenience? Well, it's to unite the kingdoms, obviously. And it sounds very similar to Shield of Sparrows, but this was way better written. And she was kind of like a bit of a spy for her father, but she didn't know she was really a spy until she actually like started uncovering more things, and then they like started to like make more sense to her. That sounds so stupid. Like make more sense. um Trapped on their ruthless continent, I am no blushing bride. I am a spy sent to unlock Ritlarn's weaknesses, a cuckoo in the robin's nest. But my heart still bleeds red when the weapon master of these strange people steals it away. So basically, she bonds with a dragon that she doesn't know that she bonded with, and then it gives her these abilities that she didn't know she had. And it's a little bit similar to like Shield of Sparrows meets A Fire in the Sky by Sophie Lark, I believe. Is that her name? It's called A Fire in the Sky. So anyway, but bonding to a dragon is illegal, I'm pretty sure. It's like similar to On Wings of Blood. So it was kind of like compared to like a lot of other books, but I do think this was better written than On Wings of Blood. But again, it didn't really stick out enough to me to be like too memorable. But I do really enjoy her writing, and I'm really excited for the second book. I really don't even remember how it ended, because I read this over a month ago already. So, and of course, like her family like casted her out, like she was never really that important to her parents. But again, like that's very cliche in a lot of romantic books. So I just needed something super fast paced after I finished this book. I think I, again, only gave it a 4 stars. I don't think I gave it a 4.25. Yeah. So next up, I really wanted to read a thriller, and this book was on like my summer thriller list. So I was like, let me just finally read this, because I had basically already found out like what our July book club was pick was gonna be, and it was by the same author as this book. So I'm like, I kind of really want to see if I like her writing. I don't know why I didn't do this with like some of the other book club picks that we've had. I mean, obviously I read The Guncle before, and we just read The Guncle Abroad for June. But all the other books we had picked before that, I don't think they were from authors that I had read before. Like The Mad Wife, King of Ashes, and what was our May pick? Oh, Yesteryear and Best Offer Wins. I had never read any of their books before. So, yeah. Anyway, the next book that I read was Sally Hepsworth's Darling Girls. I loved this book, you guys. Loved this book. I gave this book a 5 stars. I think this was one of my only 5-star thriller reads this year from a female, because I think the only other 5-star thriller I had was King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby, and then The Mad Wife by Megan Church. But The Mad Wife is more so general fiction / psychological thriller, but not really like even that thrillery. But this one was like my first true 5-star thriller that was like one of those typical bingeable thriller reads, and I loved this book so much. So basically, this is about a woman named Miss Fairchild, okay? And Miss Fairchild decides to adopt like just orphans that like, orphan girls that nobody wants anymore. And she has like this big house with a pool, and she, basically tells everyone that, she's going to love and care for these girls so much, and you weren't wanted from your family, so no one will love you like Miss Fairchild will. And oh my God, she slowly just starts unveiling that she is their worst nightmare, more so than their saving grace, like their mother, you know? So slowly things start happening. Like at first she's like becomes obsessed with the main character, I believe was Alicia. I think it was Alicia. And Alicia like freaking worships her. Like Miss Fairchild doesn't really like her leaving to go to school. She wants her to love Miss Fairchild and only her. She wants her to be like obsessed with her. Just like because Alicia again was first worshiping her, or maybe it was Nora. I can't remember if it was Nora or Alicia, or maybe even Jessica. I can't remember which was which. They all have their own separate storylines though, and they all basically become sisters to unite against Miss Fairchild. And that's all I'm going to say, because that's not really giving away much. But when you find out what Darling Girls actually means, oh my God, I love the way that she reveals like why her books are named what they are. And it's just fucking wild. This book was so good, such unhinged characters, and oh my God, I just love Sally Hepworth's writing. I cannot wait to talk about our July book club pick, but so good. Absolutely loved it. Okay, next up was the last book signing that I went to for June was Mary Kay Andrews' Road Trip. So I had read These Summer Storms the day before we met Mary Kay Andrews with Sarah McLean, who wrote These Summer Storms. So I wanted to read this a bit after, and also me and Felicia were buddy reading it, so I was just waiting for her to start it. And we both really, really enjoyed this book. Again, I just need to read more books by this queen. And why do I feel like I talked about this book? Or maybe because I just reviewed it. Duh. So I just reviewed it on Goodreads like 2 days ago. So anyway, because I'm trying to catch up with my book reviews. So this book is about two estranged sisters who lose their mother. And they have to come back together because declared in her mother's will, in order for them to get any kind of money or inheritance, they both have to reunite and go on a road trip together to Scotland or Ireland. I think it's Ireland. Can't remember which one. But also, I think it's Maeve that is left with being responsible for this portrait that she's trying to figure out whether or not it has any money. Any value, I mean, not any money. If she can get any money from it, I mean. And so basically, there is a mystery element to this book, and it actually gets a little bit darker towards the end. But it was just such a delightful read, and it was funny, and I just enjoy Mary Kay Andrews as a human so much. She is fucking hysterical. Oh my God, I didn't think she was so funny. And she is such a well-known, revered, seasoned writer in the authors and fiction industry, and she's amazing, and I really need to read more of her books. This is the second book I've read by her. I haven't read any other books besides Summers at the Saint and this one, and I read Summers at the Saint back in 2024, so I didn't read any of her books last year, and she has so many good books in her backlist. She has 23 books or 25 books or something, and they're all in New York Times bestsellers. And this one was on the New York Times bestsellers for like 2 or 3 weeks. So, yeah, she's a big deal. And I gave this book another 4 stars. It was really good. Just really fun. So, That's all I'm going to say. I don't really want to reveal anymore. It was just such a fun book. And this, for some reason, deleted my rating again. And there's things going on in Maeve and, what the hell? Maeve and, why is this on top now? Maeve and, how many times can I say Maeve? And Teresa's lives, that it was a good thing that they ended up coming back together. Because they have to, like, kind of be forced to get back along to figure out why her mother decided to do this, because they're not really sure if her mother was, like, of sound mind when she actually said these things in her will. So it's very interesting. So, and Maeve just, like, needs some adventure in her life, and this is, like, the first time she's ever left the country, I'm pretty sure. Or was that in another book? I can't remember. So I just read another book where she was, like, super old. No, that was The Correspondent, not, oh my god, that book. Road Trip. I'm gonna get confused with those two. With, The Correspondent. Okay, 2 more books, and they were both on my Pride TBR, so the next one I just completely just decided to pick up on a whim, because, again, I needed to mood read a bit more. Road Trip was not on my TBR for June. I didn't even know it was coming out. I don't think I even mentioned it in June until we were going to the signing, so I don't know if I mentioned it as a new release in my June TBR video. I probably didn't. So anyway, the next one I read was Bromancy by Mary Roche, and this one came out May 26th as well. So again, I was catching up on more May releases. So anyway, this book is about 2 guys, obviously. It's a queer romance. Named Juniper and what is the other guy's name? Mo? Yes. And basically, like, they don't know that they're in love with each other. Like, they're both, like, best friends. And they're sent on this crazy journey quest. I forgot exactly what they needed to do in the quest, but the whole thing is that what they encounter on their quest is just so funny. And there's, well, monsters and unicorns and ogres and dragons, and it's just so fucking funny. This book was just such a great time. And it says Juniper hates camping, he hates the dark, and there's no way all these foraged mushrooms are going to sit well in his stomach. One thing he doesn't hate, how good Mo's thighs look in his questing pants. He doesn't have time to think about that, though, with a monster to hunt and their futures on the line. But monsters come in all shapes and sizes. When Juniper and Mo realize that the terrifying beast they've sworn to kill is just a scared little girl torn from her family, they're off to find not only the true villain of their story, but maybe even a happy ending. So now I remember. So their responsibility is to protect this girl because the king, because they're originally tasked with finding a dragon to bring to the king, and obviously, again, dragons are bad, so they're going to be destined to kill them, to kill dragons. But then it turns out she's a little girl that's just as afraid of them as they are of dragons, and so the king still wants to kill her, and they have to convince the king that they don't want her to die. And that's basically most of the book. The only thing is that the reason why I didn't give this a higher rating is because I thought it took a little bit too long for them to really admit their feelings to each other. I gave it a 4.25, excuse me. Sorry. We just had dinner, excuse me. It has a 3.59 on Goodreads, which I don't know why. I thought it was so funny. But I just feel like it was only like the last 20 pages where they finally admitted their feelings to each other. Like, yes, I love that, we spent some time with them, and we spent some time with these characters' heads, and in these characters' heads, I mean, not with these characters' heads. That's a little weird. But yeah, it was still a really, really fun time. This kind of, like, reminded me of Tangled, and it was just so fun. So, yeah. And then the last book that I read in June was Ladylike by Mackenzie Lee. And this one I actually picked up at Huntington Pride. Because I am not a big pride goer anymore of the pride parade in the city in NYC. It's just chaos, like utter chaos. I used to go when I was younger, and now I'm like, meh. My brother goes every year. I don't know how he does it. So I would just much rather go to Long Island Pride because it's so much easier. And it's like so close to me. So anyway, so this book is about two lesbians that are trying to find a husband, but they end up falling for each other. And that's basically it. They are both engaged to these two dukes, but one of them can't really find a decent like suitor because he had said like a couple of things that he thought was wrong with her, which actually was like so rude. But like honestly, it's not surprising during that time because, you know, gentlemen used to treat ladies like they were, you know, second hand and like I mean not second hand, second best. I'm gonna use more moisturizer because I got my nails done today, so I'm just gonna be moisturizing like crazy. So yeah. They have to figure out a way that they can be together. And that's it. I think I gave this a 4 stars. And it was good. I enjoyed it. I don't really read that many Regency books, so I really wanted to read another Regency book, and this was good. I liked it. So that's really it. So yeah, we finally finished my wrap up for June. I don't even know how long this video was. Hopefully not longer than like an hour and a half. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on my Instagram at CBW819 and check out my TikTok and my Goodreads. I am tired. Goodreads in the link in the description box below. Oh my god, I can't speak. I haven't filmed this outro in like 3 weeks. Because the only time I film now, besides my wrap-ups, are my TBR videos. And I always film those right away. Because those don't take as long and I always get so excited to film them. So yeah. What was your favorite book and your least favorite book in June? Let me know. My favorite book I read, I think, was... I can't remember. Hold the phone. I think I already said it earlier. I loved Darling Girls, and I loved Dance of Thieves. I think Darling Girls was my favorite, like, standalone. I loved that book. And then my least favorite was The Summer Proposal, obviously. And I loved Trope Sick, too. So, yeah. That's it. I hope you have a great day and keep reading. Bye.